بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. السلام علیکم و رحمت الله و برکاته. سلام دوستا و عزیزا، خدا کنه که خوش باشین، آرام باشین، خوشحال باشین. امروز تاریخ جولای 29 است، روز سنده است، 11 بجه روز است. خدا کنه که خوش باشین، آرام باشین. میخوایم که باتون بگویم که او هفته ما که آمده بودم صحبت ما بود درباره مادر پدرها که چطور میتونه که در زندگی اولاد خود زیادتر وقت دیر کنه و چطور اولاد اهمیت مادر پدر بفهمه. این هفته که هست کم ذره چیز خود یعنی گپای یک چند هفته چند ماه که بود کم ذره چیز میکنیم، تغییر میشه. امروز که هست یک دوست خدا آوردیم در اینجا، یک افغان خدا آوردیم، نامش است علی نظری.
سلام علیکم.
از این که پیش بریم، شما اگر میخواین سلام خدا بتین. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for coming to the show. So dear friends, I know the past couple of times since I've been on the show, I've always talked about behavioral and mental health aspect of life and life situations. But this time around, what I'm going to discuss, it's going to be much different. It's going to be very new, and it's something that a lot of our community members are really unaware of or really don't see the importance of, a sport that people do not watch, especially our parents, grandparents. But a lot of the youngsters nowadays, they're really into this sport. So before we come back and before you give your introductions, let's go ahead and take a look at the clips on what sports we're going to talk about.
Zada. First of all, welcome back to the UFC. It's been a long time for you, more than 800 days out of the octagon. How does it feel to get back in?
His record is also undefeated, 2 wins with no losses. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Ali Nizari. All right, and here we go. 3 rounds of mixed martial arts in the flyweight division.
All right, the 125-pounders are inside the cage, ready to dance, and here we go.
Becerra is going to be in the red tape, Nizari in the blue.
Interestingly enough,
wanna step to the ring, wanna hear you scream, like you just woke up from a scary dream. Step to the ring and do your thing. Knock me out or catch my swing.
welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys finally understand, what the sport or what the show is going to be about today. So again, to do any more introduction, we have an upcoming Afghan fellow here in Southern California fighting out of Torrance, California.
That's
So
right.
please, Ali John, if you can introduce yourself to us and to our viewers here at Sadai Haq.
Well, Wally, thank you again for having me on the show. Like he stated, my name is Ali Nazari. I was born in Afghanistan, in Kandahar. I came to America when I was a couple months old, so I basically grew up in America, but I've always kept to my Afghan roots. I love representing Afghanistan. That's where I'm from, and gonna go back soon eventually, hopefully. We'll see. But yeah, man, growing up in America, luckily I had an early start, so it wasn't as challenging for me because I've grown up in the culture, growing up English, knowing English, and speaking Farsi at home, going to schools, all in the South Bay, Victor Elementary School, and then Jefferson Middle School, and then West High School, and then I graduated from California State University Northridge recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And what did you do your studies in?
My study was in criminology.
Very nice.
As a kid, I've always wanted to be a cop, and then, or in the criminal justice field at least. And finding mixed martial arts had become a passion of mine, and now I'm pursuing a career out of it. So,
Nice.
really like it a lot.
Very good. Very good. Again, thank you very much for coming on to the show.
Of course.
We've got great viewers that watch the show, and I think today's show will also help. A lot of folks, a lot of youngsters back home that are who are watching us currently, to be more motivated. For the parents to really understand, the meaning behind why did you pick this career path. And it's not, it seems like, you're an educated guy.
Of course.
You have your bachelor's degree
Of course.
in criminology. It's in criminal justice and in the study of why people become criminals.
Of course.
So I think this will be a great platform for everybody else who's watching the show to learn more about yourself and about, the work that you do. So let's begin by discussing a little bit about, let's talk about a little bit about your upbringing here. How was it? I know you came here at a very young age, when you were very little. I know some certain individuals or Afghans or any Muslims or community or any folks from all around the world, when they do come here, they have a hard time adjusting.
Yeah.
And it's either when kids are getting bullied in school, or they're having a hard time understanding the language. It's the family difficulties that parents go through. Parents are not being able to get they don't have a job. They have a hard time finding a job.
Of course.
So
especially
what was
now.
it like for you guys? And how many people are in your household as well?
Well, there's when we came here along in the 90s, for me, I was blessed because I was, like I said, I was a couple months old when I got here, so I got to basically grow up here. But for my parents, it was hard because they didn't go to high school, they didn't have any education, didn't speak the language. My grandpa was the one who actually brought us all over here. At the time in the 90s, there was the Afghan Civil War going on. So we came to America my grandpa brought us to America for a better opportunity. So for them, I know my mom told me they struggled a lot, but they worked hard. My dad found a job working with a bunch of Mexican Americans, and the first language he learned was actually Spanish. So he fluently speaks Spanish, fluently speaks Farsi, and then his English is obviously over time it's progressed. It's gotten a lot better, but it was a lot of hard work, and I'm truly grateful for the opportunities they gave me, because if it wasn't for them, I would not have been able to succeed or even finish college or have the drive to be where I'm at. And as far as that said, as a kid, I have my little sister and my younger brother, and I have an older brother, and out of all of them, I was a troublemaker. I would get into trouble.
That's why you picked MMA. Huh?
MMA, yeah, as you can see, that's why I picked
the
MMA.
Troublemakers always do things that are always active.
As you could determine, the class clown, so to speak, at school. I didn't take school very seriously at a young age, or up until high school, even a little bit into. I would say up into high school, I didn't take school very seriously. I was just that kid that messed around. would give parents would didn't know what to
Parent-teacher
do.
conference.
Kid parent teacher conference, after school club, or not after school club, after school detention, Saturday school. I went into Saturday school so many times in high school that the teacher just knew who I was, and eventually we established a great relationship. So I actually got to get away with not going to Saturday school. That's how bad it was, I guess, in the way it worked out for me.
So you're saying that what was the reason behind that? Did you just weren't enjoying school? Was there something going on, in your life that you couldn't concentrate in school, or what was going on at that time being?
I think I just
High energy, just didn't know how to control yourself.
Yeah, just high energy, didn't really control myself well, and my parents, they worked so much, and they didn't really set like standards for us as kids.
Okay.
Whereas like I see now, like Americans, not even Americans, but in general, but you'll see people who just kids will come to school or come home, do their homework first, get all their studies out of the way, and then have time for fun. Whereas for me, as soon as school was over, fun. It was just like fun. Homework.
No homework.
Yeah, I procrastinated a lot on doing my homework, so it was just. And what I really wish I did as a kid was read more, because there's nothing better than reading as a kid to help develop that the meaning, to want to read. Like now, I love reading. Like any books that I'm interested in, I love reading. Like there's this book I'm reading right now that's called "How I Became the Fittest Woman on Earth." It's on Tia Claire Toomey, who's a she's a CrossFit athlete, and she definitely it gives. Let's just put it this way: it's a motivating factor for me to want to do better in life, or even in just in the work field or in my sport. But just books like that, autobiographies, or any book in general, will just help motivate you, or even get you the intellectual ability to know bigger words, know finished sentences. It's just reading is just a big thing, and I wish I had that as a kid, which I didn't. Obviously, I didn't really like reading as a kid.
But well, I'm glad things worked out well. I mean, sometimes part of that is that when there's a child at home and they have a hard time, it's I usually give talks about parents not being involved in the child's life, or they can be involved because they're busy, and there's no form of structure where the child doesn't know what to do now.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do I do? I can do anything now because there's nobody watching. I don't have an authority figure taking a look at what I'm doing, so I can't get in trouble. I'm just gonna go ahead and do what I want to do. But again, when did I know you said that once you were in your junior year, or was it college?
I would say high school for sure. After my freshman year,
you started picking up.
I started picking up. So what happened for me was, as a kid, I loved playing basketball. That was my passion, was basketball and watching wrestling, WWE. I don't know, it's professional wrestling. It's not the same as
World Wrestling Federation.
It's not the same as obviously high school wrestling or Olympic wrestling.
No, I used to watch it too.
Yeah,
I used to watch it too, and then I transitioned to what you're doing right now, MMA.
Exactly.
Mixed martial arts now, and it's it honestly, to me it's actually my number one sport right now currently.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people that do know me, or people that don't know me, when they come to understand what is my favorite sport, it's actually MMA, mixed martial arts, and a lot of people are very shocked. And I just tell them, I'm like, it's just fun. It's just when you look at it, it's fun. I've tried out the workouts before. It's amazing. It's very hard. It's not easy workouts. When you are there, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, and I'm not even an athlete.
Yeah.
But it comes down to you. Tell me, when was the first time that I know you said you did wrestling too in high school. So what was behind your motivation behind you doing wrestling in high school then?
Well, just to piggyback real quick off what you were saying, the best thing about mixed martial arts is you don't have to compete. You don't have to be get in the cage. You could be just coming off the couch. Anyone can do it. It's good for your cardio, for your health. It's good for self-defense, especially kids that get bullied. There's a lot of bullying going around in the world, and mixed martial arts is a great foundation to,
So when you say it's good for kids who get bullied, do actually kids that actually join MMA, do they start becoming more violent? towards the bullies, or they just or is it becomes more of like a structural base for them where they're able to kind of defend themselves and not harm? I mean, I'm sure MMA teaches them not to misuse their skills.
For me personally, and for a lot of my friends that I've known that do it, we use it as a self-defense mechanism. It teaches you so much discipline and respect because as soon as you sign up for a gym, the coach tells you it's all about respect. We do this whether you're competing or not to get in better shape and to be able to defend yourself, because you never know in this world. You're never guaranteed tomorrow, so you never know what's going to happen, and it's good to know how to defend yourself, but at the same time don't get an ego and don't try to fight people just because you think you're tough and you do MMA. But it taught me about respect, discipline, and a lot of my friends in school, actually, my last year at Cal State Northridge, the new people that I've met, they're like, I can't believe you fight in a cage. You're like one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Yeah. I tell them I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I'm a fighter only when I'm competing in the cage.
You know what? A lot of people do say that. I've come across a lot of even fighters that actually are. Or some of the fighters that I've met, they're the nicest people ever. But once they get into the cage, or once they're competing, they turn. It's a whole different person that you kind of see. So is that something that you guys are wired to do? Do you guys learn to separate yourself from your actual personality to your fighting personality, or to your fighting?
Well, for me, it's like it comes down to like I know that I could. I'm trained to fight. I know I could do these things. When it comes to being outside the cage, I try to avoid it. I don't need to prove to myself that I know how to fight, because I already go in a cage and do this for a living. So it comes down to just getting your ego out of the way. You know, you don't have to be tough. You don't have to show off. But yeah, it definitely teaches you a lot about respect, and that's really big in the sport. But I'm sure there are guys out there that think they're tough, and you know, use the sport as a what's the word, advantage, I guess, not advantage, what's the word I'm looking for, misuse, yeah, they use this as like a misuse,
abuse,
thank you, they abuse it, which like even most of all my friends who do mixed martial arts, we don't like people like that. We have a great respect for the sport, and as athletes, we want to, you know, carry ourselves with with the sport on our shoulders, where people look at us and they see like, wow, these guys are fighters and they're like really nice, humble people, and that's how I always carry myself.
That's how it should be. It's like an individual, or let's take a professor at a school. You know, they're carrying, you know, let's say their title as a doctor. You know, how they should present themselves when they go out and when they do presentations, when they interact with one another. Same thing as a doctor, engineer. Same thing as professional fighters too. You guys have a code of ethics.
Of course, code of ethics.
So for that, you know, there's standards. You know, if you're misusing or if you're abusing your privilege,
of course,
who you are, then you're really out of the team. Then that
of course, and even when you're inside the cage fighting against your opponent, after the fight's over, it's all love and respect at the end. Like my last fight. My opponent and I, we became good friends. We found each other on social media. We messaged each other, like talking about how great our skill set is and what we want to do in the sport, and how basically we just became friends from after beating each other up for.
I saw your fight. I saw that fight. Dear brothers and sisters, especially folks that are here in the city of, you know, who live here in Southern California, especially in Orange County and LA. At least John's fight's always in LA, and you have a title fight.
Yes.
He actually has a title fight coming up here in Anaheim on August 5th.
August 5th, which is 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. And where is that going to be?
That's going to be in Anaheim. The address is on the ticket, but it's going to be in Anaheim, and I'm going to be the main event. It's a title fight. It's a big fight, and I have a lot of my friends coming down.
So what I'll do is I'll also showcase the ticket. Also for the viewers to see, so they also know that, you know what, when the fight is, I'll write down the address down as well. So if anybody's interested, they can just walk in and see the fight that day, right?
Yeah, it's so once you put the information down, doors open at 3 p.m. Fights start at 4 p.m. and I'm gonna be the last fight, and
that's because you're the main event.
That's
for the
main event,
title
exactly.
Fight.
And then the price will be $45. So it's gonna be a good show. I'm gonna put on a show. I am really excited for it. I can't wait.
And what I was told, by some of your friends too, even so the way it works is that maybe you can explain this better. Is with mixed martial arts, you have to start off as an amateur, like as a rookie, and then from there you go into pro, and that's where you start, going to big fights, big money, big fame. Maybe something bigger than even coming on this show. You're gonna, you're broadcasted throughout the world.
True.
Again, Ali John's a newcomer, and the reason why I brought him in is because there's a lot of Afghans, there's a lot of talent out there, but none of us really utilize it. A lot of parents are not supportive of their children when it comes to doing mixed martial arts. I will get to you, in discussion of if your parents were supportive or not.
Yeah.
But prior to that, is it true? Will you be going pro after this fight, or win or lose, or no? Is it?
So like what you said, actually, you don't have to go amateur to go pro. You could go straight to pro, but
Okay.
let's put it this way:
It's good to do.
it gets you ready to the next level. There's nothing like getting that cage experience first. And amateurs, your records, nothing matters in amateurs. But amateurs just getting you ready to the professional level. And if I'm right now, I have 5 fights. I'm 4-1. I'm gonna do one more before I go pro, which is this fight coming up August 5th. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am, because after my first fight, I wanted to go pro right away.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I was ready. I was like, I could do this. I was just like, I was younger too. I was letting my ego get in the way. I was like, I could beat all these people. I don't care. Of course, I still have that, respect aspect of it, but like it's just in the cage, competing.
Usually it happens.
It's my competitive side, yeah. So
you're rushed to, like, I want to get it now and then.
But having these fights at the amateur level, oh my goodness! Each time I step in the cage, the more I feel so comfortable in there. It's just all about the cage experience, and there's nothing like it. So. You'll know when you're ready to go pro, so I'm grateful that I didn't just jump into pros, because those guys, you got to be on another level when you go professional.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
All my coaches, my teammates, they know I'm there. I'm ready to go. I was thinking about doing one more fight after this one at the amateur level, because I got offered another title fight September 8th, but my coaches and I discussed it. We were gonna just get this fight. Goals to win, obviously, and then eventually go.
Inshallah, you'll win it.
Go professional. Yep.
So, so before that too, if you can, you know what, I would like to get a ticket and actually come to your show. I've never been to it, so I would love to go ahead and support you for that.
Thank you.
It's always good to support. I always am for our fellow Muslims and Afghans who are always putting their first step towards something bigger and into a bigger step into achieving something higher.
Thank you.
And again, I think it's going to be great. It's like I said, it's my #1 sport, so
you're gonna love it.
Very excited for it.
Put on a show like it did my last fight.
So make sure you mention my name or thank me for something.
Thank you, Mr. Wali Hanif Zai.
So other than that, so let's get back to the idea. I know you said earlier that you had a fight recently, and then you're friends with even your opponent. You're friends with him now.
Yeah.
You guys talk to each other. How is that like? What do you guys talk about mainly? Do you guys talk about strategies? Do you guys talk about, how do you guys ever train together or?
No, we come from 2 different gyms, but
Okay.
yeah, we built that. He was definitely the toughest guy, the challenge I had in the cage, and afterwards we were complimenting each other. I was the more superior grappler. He was definitely the more superior striker.
Okay.
And he was coming off a first round knockout win. So I knew to make sure to keep my hands up and to take it to the ground, and which eventually did, and I submitted him. But we just talked about how long you've been fighting, what do you want to do in the sport. Obviously, we both want to see how far we could get. We talked about like weight cutting, like what training regimens that we have, just general talking about things that revolve around fighting. But yeah, we built that mutual respect from each other, and that's just throwing it all out in the cage.
Perfect.
Once the fight's over, it's over. It's just a sport at the end of the day, And
you're not there to go after each other or to hurt each other physically, or like actually. I mean, you physically hurt each other, but you're not out there to like take revenge or kill each other.
No, I would never want. Yeah,
that's the main goal.
I actually, before my fight, even before this fight, I always pray for myself. I pray for my opponent as well. I always That's what keeps me sane. Is God keeps me sane, and I make sure I pray. During fight week, cutting weight, I'm always just calm, praying. At the end of the day, you don't want anything bad to happen to you or your opponent. You just want to compete. You obviously want to do whatever it takes to win, but for both of you to walk out of there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So, dear brothers and sisters, we do have a clip of Ali Jones that we're going to show at the end of the show. So please stay tuned. I did watch that fight, and he does hit pretty good. I saw one of his punch that he landed on you. It looked like a pretty hard shot, but you took it pretty well.
Yeah.
She staggered you. I looked.
I definitely felt it. So he was coming off a knockout win, and after our fight, he actually fought 3 weeks after our fight, and he knocked out the guy in like 17 seconds.
Man. He was
straight,
really angry at you.
Dude, he straight up knocked him straight to the floor. It was over instantly. So I was thank goodness I kept my hands up the whole time. Let's just put it that way.
So I don't know if you. I like to let you guys know Ali John does have a cut from his last fight. It's he got a cut right on his head. So if you, I don't know if you want to show it to our viewers. There's a cut here, and it happens. It's part of the game, and it's part of the sports. Any sport you play, you're gonna hurt yourself.
That's right.
Either you're gonna break bones, you're gonna cut yourself, you're gonna bleed. So even the fight that we show at the end of the show, as you will see, Ali John does get cut. There's a lot of blood coming out of him, but he does win, and he wins really greatly too. But how is the cut? I know there's a lot of blood coming out that day.
So it happened during one of the exchanges that we were having. We both threw at the same time, and we ended up in a scramble. I circled him to the cage, and I took him down. And when I took him down, I felt blood coming down. I was like, oh, I'm bleeding. You're thinking so fast in the cage. You're like, okay, I'm bleeding, but I got to stay on top. Your mind's racing.
So that's the last thing you're thinking about. Is like,
But you're aware of it.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden, I'm on top of him, and then I'm like, oh my god! I see the blood just dripping on his face. I'm like, oh my god, I'm bleeding a lot, extensively. Like,
how was it at that moment though when you're bleeding? Did you get more nervous? I know.
Oh no.
Sometimes people say that when they see blood, even fighters, they get more. Their heart starts beating much faster, and they actually get exhausted. They exhaust themselves.
Well, for me, when the blood was flowing down, I was just thinking to myself, wow, I'm bleeding a lot, but at the same time, I'm ready to finish this guy. So, my end mission is to win this fight. So, I'm just aware of it for a quick second, and then I'm just back to work, just gonna finish this guy, which eventually got the win.
Good.
So,
Good.
It happens.
And can I ask how many stitches did you?
Oh
get
yeah.
on top
So
of
as soon as the fight was over, I saw the doctor in the back. They put 5 stitches in my head. That was the first time ever getting stitches, and it was a crazy experience because they get a syringe and they just poke it through your skull, and they stitched it up right then and there. It didn't hurt too bad. It was fine. The adrenaline was still pumping at the time, so you don't feel it too much. We got it stitched up. I was a 60-day suspension, and now I'm able to fight. Really excited.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to it now. To be honest,
I'm gonna put on a show.
I can't wait to watch it. And I'll be there to represent. I'll probably bring in an Afghan flag.
I'll be gladly to walk out with the Afghan flag if you bring it.
I'll bring it, and you. I don't know if I have a flag. I should have a flag. If not, I do have a cloth. It's the Afghan flag on it. So maybe you can use that, but I'll give it to you.
If you give it to me, I will walk out with it.
Sounds good. I will give it to you. And the other thing is that because you're doing MMA and it's something that usually parents are not
that's
for
what I
this.
want to get into. Okay.
Let's talk about, with your parents for this or are they against it? That's the main point.
Okay, so I want to go back, put some context behind my parents in sports real quick, and then I'm going to get into it.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, remember when I mentioned earlier that my 2 passions in life was basketball and professional wrestling, watching it on TV. I didn't make the basketball team in high school. I was very sad. I'm not gonna lie. I was emotional. I was crying. I cried a lot. But I told myself I don't want to just be in PE. I want to do a sport. I want to do something. And like I said, I was always that active, energetic kid. And then I was like, you know what? I like wrestling, And I had a friend who did wrestling, and obviously it's not the same thing. They're two different. There's professional wrestling on TV, and there's folk style wrestling, which is in high school. And then I went to my first practice, and I fell in love with it. But then I told my parents I was doing wrestling. They didn't really understand what wrestling was. No. They just didn't understand, and they thought I was gonna get hurt. They all tried to force me to give it up. Like they tried.
What did they think of wrestling? They think that, because I know generally parents when they talk about wrestling. I remember once I talked to my parents about wrestling too, and their concept of wrestling is not, when we say kushti is more, it is wrestling, but it's you hold on to somebody and you try to take him down. It's body weight against each other too. But for them, I think they thought there was going to be punches and kicks.
Yeah, they just didn't understand the basic concept of the differences between professional wrestling, because we watched professional wrestling, and I kept informing my parents that it's not the same thing. It's there's
also they thought that WWF was that's what you were going to do.
At first they thought that, but I told them it wasn't. It was not that. I explained to them what it was, but it's just they just didn't understand the culture of it. I guess they just didn't understand, and it took maybe a good solid year for me just to keep doing it and telling them I'm going to do it. And even though they didn't like it, they eventually gave in. And my mom, my dad came to my wrestling matches. They rooted me on. They cheered me on. They loved it. They loved watching me. And so when it comes to Afghan parents, just be calm. You have to
give them time to understand.
They just need time. Exactly. They need to understand what the sport is. Of course, sometimes they're the parents, they're the boss. They want to get their way. Right? It's their rules.
But you have to remember, you're their child too, right?
Exactly.
You're a gift of God to them, so they don't want you to get hurt. They don't want you to,
I just
yourself.
Kept
That's it.
Exactly. I just kept telling them. I was like, there's all these people that do it. I met friends that have done it.
Did you any Afghan friends that did it?
Yeah, I had. I forgot. There was two Afghans on our team. They're older than me, so I didn't really connect too well with them. But we got to talking and everything, and I told my parents that look, they do it. They're Afghan, and it kind of helped. It's good to know like Afghans or other Middle Eastern that do it. So it definitely opens their perspective a little bit for sure.
Good, very good.
But yeah, but they eventually loved it. They came to the matches and everything, and it was a good solid rest of the 4 years for me doing wrestling. And that's what actually, like I said earlier, it wasn't until after my freshman year where I got serious in school. If it wasn't for wrestling, I don't know where I would be when it comes to my academics, because
kept you focused.
So it shames me to say this. My first report card as a freshman was like 2 Fs, 2 Ds, a C, maybe an A in PE, or this was before wrestling. So it was really bad, and what hurt me the most was I couldn't go. You have to have above a certain GPA to finish off the season to go into, like, let's say CIF, state, whatever.
To be eligible for.
To be eligible, exactly. And I was ineligible, and that hurt me because like I told you, I fell in love with wrestling. I couldn't do it, and my coach had a talk with me, and they were such huge mentors for me. My coach, Brian Notch and Tom Slowey, they told me that I'm not going to be on the team if I don't get my grades up. And they told me that for every week, every single week, this is every week, I needed to get weekly progress reports from my teachers to give to them and to show that I'm progressing, that I'm doing better in school. And that motivated me to do better, to study, just so I could wrestle. And obviously I wanted to get my grades up and everything.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, it seems like they cared about you, and they kept pushing to get you on the team. And it seems like you were an important asset to the team.
Yeah.
So they wanted you, they needed you in the team.
Exactly.
And then how is it? I know the transition of you going to wrestling was difficult for your parents, but how was it when you first told your parents for the first time that you're going to start doing MMA?
So I actually didn't tell them.
Did you tell them when you first went to your first fight?
Actually, they didn't even know I had a first fight. I told them because they obviously the wrestling was one thing, and now I'm gonna step in the cage and I'm fighting. You could just imagine what they would have thought.
Oh man!
So I did it behind their back. Of course, I told them that I was competing in wrestling tournaments, and eventually well, I knew my dad likes to watch boxing. Actually, he likes boxing. Obviously, he doesn't know what mixed martial arts is because it's fairly new. It's fairly new, I guess you could say. It came out in the '90s, but boxing's been around for a long time, and so it slowly creeped up where I eventually told them. I showed my dad a video of my fight, and he was actually like, at first he was like, "Why are you doing this? Like, do you get money out of this?" And
Good
no,
job, Bachim. Good job.
yeah, an amateur level, you don't get money. You're obviously doing it for the experience to get better. But when I showed him the video, he was like, "When's your next one?" He was really excited.
Oh, he was excited.
He was
very
like,
good.
"Wow," because I told him, it's just I didn't get it. He sees me beating someone up. I'm injury free. I'm the same kid, obviously. But yeah, he actually liked it. He like my last fight. I don't want my parents to go to my fights, but I do definitely. They definitely like to watch it like off of like a phone or online or something. Obviously they're gonna get really emotional into it.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely, they as soon as my fight was over, where's the video? Let's see the video. And my dad likes to show off to all his friends. Yeah, that's my son. So it was very shocking, actually, very shocking. I did not expect that, but I think what it is was they just came used to the American life culture, and they got used to everything. So
Okay.
yeah, it's.
Okay.
It was awesome.
Nice. So now my question is, how did your mom take it? When did she find out the first time?
She was a little more hesitant with me doing it. She probably found out. Oh, my dad obviously told her right away. She obviously she tells me she even tells me now not to do it, but she's very supportive. Like if I got a fight coming up, she says okay. She's just whatever about it, but I think she just likes to keep her mind busy, not think too much of it. But she knows that it's my 5th time. It's gonna be my 6th time getting in the cage, so she knows I love it. She knows that it keeps me disciplined. I finished school at the Cal State Northridge. It definitely keeps me grounded and not in staying out of trouble, and she knows that, and she's happy with it.
Good. So last question I'll ask you. We got a question. But I wanted to ask you, how does it feel now, since your parents didn't know that you were wrestling and you were doing it behind their backs, but after they did accept the fact that you are doing MMA, how was the feeling like before and after, knowing that your parents they actually knew that you were going to do MMA and they were supportive of it?
It felt like a huge relief had been lifted off my shoulder, because one, I don't have to lie to them.
Good.
I don't like lying, obviously, but it just makes me happy that they know I do it, and that like they're supportive, and it just it motivates me to do better for them, obviously, and better for myself in the sport, and it keeps me sane, because going to practices every day disciplines you. Putting in all that hard work, and you become more humble. Like each time you become more humble. Like there's nothing more humbling than going to practice and beating each other up with your teammates, and then going out to eat after. You know what I mean? So it's really amazes me that they're supportive from where they have come from back then to now. It's wow. I can't say enough good things about everything they've done. And
Good. And I'm glad that your parents are supportive of you. And I think a lot of families and friends should be supportive of their children when it comes to sports. Dear brothers and sisters, if your child or your son or your daughter is into sports, remember, these are good things. It keeps them occupied. It keeps them away from. I actually wanted to get in touch with you, but it keeps them away from drugs. It keeps them away from doing bad things, from spending time with bad crowds. It's not like they're drinking alcohol or they're doing drugs, but they're actually occupied with sports.
Oh, I could talk about
this. And I'm pretty sure you're probably really tired. By the time you get home, you're probably you fall asleep right away.
Yeah.
So how is that after training?
You
look tired right now.
I'm actually.
Did you come out of a training today, or?
Today what we like to call is, or this week what we like to call is Hell Week, because 2 weeks before your fight, this is Hell Week. This week, so you're training really hard this week. Obviously, I'm cutting weight. And then next week is Fight Week. You take it easy. You're just getting the weight off. You're preparing, but you're you're working out twice a day. Morning for me, it's morning, and then nighttime, and then finding time to sleep, study. Or when I was in school, obviously studying. But yeah, you're definitely exhausted, and it just keeps me grounded. Just to do my practices and just to go home and just be around family and not stay out of trouble. Because I have a fight coming up and stay out of trouble, so it helps me stay away from anything that
Good. So let's do this. We'll go on a quick break, and then we'll be right back. And then I've got a question that one of the viewers, that a viewer has.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
Look forward to it.
We'll be back. Is on our show here at برنامج جواندون و زندگی in صدای حق. So before we go ahead, where we left off, we talked about how your parents, how they're very supportive of you, actually going forward and supporting you now with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which is always important, because a child or a son or a daughter always wants, the number one thing that they always want is their parents' support.
Yeah.
Because if they have that, they care less about what other people think or what other people do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Especially if they really love what they're doing and they have a passion for it, and you try to suppress that, it's not going to end well.
And so it's a good thing that you said. So what happens, for instance, if a family or a parent doesn't support their child into doing a sport that they really love doing? What can happen to that child?
Well, for me, when like I mentioned earlier, for wrestling, they try to try to get me not to do it. I was very hurt. I didn't want to do anything. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like crying all the time.
Did you get depressed?
Depressed, very depressed, because I really loved it. I really wanted to do it. And yeah, it just brought me down. It was just negativity after negativity that surfaced in my mind. Like, why can't they just understand? Why do they gotta be like this? I see all my American friends, their parents love and support them. So I just basically what's the word? I basically what's the word I'm looking for?
Gonna conceptualize?
No. Where I compare. Well, I basically compare myself to the American kids, or kids that the parents that let their kids do it, and it just wasn't a good time for me. Let's just put it that way.
And I think you're not the only one. You're not the only one that's feeling that way. I know there's so many folks out there, so many children out there. Parents are okay with them doing certain sports, and sports that parents know about.
Exactly.
For instance, soccer, basketball here and there, football, it's a no. Wrestling is also a no, because those are certain sports that parents are not aware of, or they don't understand the science behind it.
Of course.
So when it comes to MMA, now you have a mixed pool of jiu-jitsu, you've got boxing, wrestling, kickboxing.
Everything.
So everything is mixed into one sport, which makes it very unique because not a lot of people can really have so many different discipline
Yep.
in one person.
Yes.
So it's so many different aspects of grabbing different talents
Exactly.
and making those talents into one talent.
Exactly.
So it's very unique and it's very hard. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yep.
And to say, so let's just get back to the viewer. One of our viewers have a question.
Okay.
So they asked, I'm a parent and I don't want my son to do what you do because I'm afraid because of him getting hurt. So there's a parent that has concerns for his son, and the concern is that they feel like their son will get hurt. I mean, as any sport that you play in, your child will get hurt in. Even if they don't play sports, they will get hurt. I restrained my I had a fracture. I fractured my arm. Actually, no, I did play football. I played football. I hurt my arm. The next day when I went to school, this was middle school, somebody threw the ball. We were playing dodgeball. Right when I hit it, it just needed that split second of pressure to fully, completely fracture it. So that's what happened.
That's the first thing that came to my mind was I can understand I'm not a parent obviously, but I can understand that a parent might have worries. But like you just mentioned, which was the first thing that came to my mind, anything they do, any sport they play, you could get injured. Soccer, basketball, football, rugby, cricket, any sport, you could get injured. Whereas our sport, yeah, you can get injured, but just my advice is don't look at the negative aspects of it. Think of the positives. What it's going to teach your child. It's going to teach them all the things that I mentioned earlier. You could even rewind this when you watch it. Discipline, motivation, hard work, dedication, self-defense, which is very important. All these great things that MMA has to offer. Your son will definitely ingrain that in their mind. They'll carry themselves a lot better. They'll be more humble. They'll respect people. They won't let their egos get in the way. At least that's what's happened to me and most fighters that I've come across. The nicest people. And then when you watch them fight in the cage, it's a humbling experience to be there and watch, and especially if you know the person, know the fighter. So I would say just don't look at the negatives. Think of the positives, because the positives do outweigh the negatives. Sure, there's going to be so you could get hurt, but that's with everything in life or in every sport that your son or daughter may play.
And it seems like, I mean, psychologically, just to look at it, it seems like it has turned you into such a humble person.
Yes, of course.
But once you get into that cage, or once you get into your practice mode, you're a different person. So basically, that's telling me that psychologically, you've learned to enjoy, to use your energy during practice and during a match. So once you're out of it, you're kind of like the switch is off.
Yeah, and I also want to really specify that what's really imperative about this sport is that you do get drug tested. So obviously with me growing up in this country, there's a really easy access to stuff that are bad for you. And luckily for me, for wrestling and for mixed martial arts, which keep me grounded and staying away from doing drugs, and with mixed martial arts, you get drug tested. So obviously, I have even if I didn't get drug tested, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of doing drugs or anything like that. But with that being said, you do get tested, and it helps keep competitors away from it, because if you get caught, you're one, it ruins your reputation. You can't be trusted. You're taking drugs, whatever, supplement, illegal, banned substances, whatever it may be. So that it's a great sport because it keeps the athletes clean, and yeah, it keeps you away from drugs.
And I think one of the main thing is that also with sports is that they don't want young viewers to say, you know what, it's okay if you are an athlete to do drugs. I
Yeah.
think it's promoting. They don't want athletes to promote,
Mm-hmm.
you know, drugs or anything, or for them to say like it's okay to use drugs. I think that's also a part of it too.
Of course.
But it's also a part of, you know, it's bad for the health, and I'm sure it, you know, it causes a lot of problems. Even if, let's say, if an athlete did do drugs,
Yeah.
and if they're come there a fight night, if you have a drunk fighter there, it's not gonna be good for that fighter.
Nope, not good at all. So
Good. So okay, good. So let's change our focus now a little to help me understand, how many years have you been doing MMA now currently? Is it, how many years would you say total?
well, you know, funny thing is mentioning the question that we just had. So I started in 2012. I had my first fight.
Uh-huh.
And I've just been coming out. I had probably been training boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu like for a good 5-6 months.
Mhm.
But I had four years of high school wrestling. So wrestling was my bread and butter, as you would say. So it was my strong suit. And after 5 months of training, I got in there and I won the match, just taking the guy down, ground and pound, all 3 rounds, and just got a dominant decision victory. That's just came from my wrestling background. That's what's the beautiful thing about mixed martial arts. I don't have to know boxing. You know, my wrestling helped me win my first fight. But I actually stopped mixed martial arts for a good 3 years until 2015 because I went snowboarding. And I landed on the back of my head, and I actually had a really bad concussion. I woke up in the hospital, and I didn't remember falling. I didn't remember calling my friend 10 times on the phone. When I went to tell him what happened, he was like, "I know, you called me 10 times." I had no recollection of any of it. So, like I said with the question, like your son will get hurt doing mixed martial arts. You can get hurt doing anything. I got hurt doing snowboarding. I had to stop because my head was in a really bad place. I couldn't take punches and stuff. But I let my brain heal. I obviously was in school at the time, you know, doing school, but I still had that passion, that love for it that just brought me back to it. And after 3 years off, I got back into 2015, had my second fight, and my brain healed fine. I'm 100%. I feel amazing. Yeah, so that was my first time, was in 2012, and then from 2015 to now, I've been consistent with it, training, getting busy, and then I've had 5 fights. Now my 6th fight is coming up right now.
Okay, good. So my other thing is that let's talk about your training regimens.
Okay.
How is that like? How do you start off? How does your day start off?
So when I'm not in fight camp, it could be I could do obviously train, stay ready. But when I'm in fight camp, it's strictly training. So I'll wake up in the morning, wake up at like 6 or 7 in the morning, go to team training. We'll have a hard 2-hour practice. You got to make sure you're eating right because you're obviously cutting weight. My natural weight right now is at 154. I cut down to 126. So I started my regimen a month ago into fight camp. So I got down from 153 to 140. I'm about 140 right now. So what is that? 13 pounds already I've lost. So it's just eating right, training 2 times a day, and now the final cut is going to be this last 2 weeks. I got to get down from 140 to 126 on weigh-in day. Okay. Yes.
Good. Wow. Okay, that's a lot of weight.
It's a lot of weight, but it keeps you really disciplined on eating right, exercising.
So how much can you eat when it comes to you exercising?
So obviously everyone is different. Everyone knows their body type very well. So it just depends on the person. But for me, I cut my calorie intake down.
Okay.
What's the average calorie intake you're supposed to have today? 2,500 or 2,000? So I cut my calorie intake down to at least 1,000 a day.
Wow, that's nothing.
You get used to it. Like you develop a habit of just not wanting to eat. You get full. So at the same time, you want to eat like pizza. I love pizza and wings. That's my favorite. But you got to be disciplined in eating right, eating white meat chicken, knowing how many carbs you have a day. The weight cut's the hardest part. But once you weigh in, it's all fun from there.
Okay, good. So again, start off. How much do you run though? Do you have a daily running regimen where you have to run a couple of miles a day, or?
What I like to do is I run. So my last fight, my fight week, I was running 3 miles a day, and at the same time I was cutting weight. So it was really hard cutting weight while running. But I was in good shape, so I was able to finish the 3 miles. So I was running 3 miles a day the last week. But I try to do sprints. Sprints are really good for you, because when you're in a fight, your heart's racing. It's like a sprint the whole time. So I do a lot of sprints to get my heart rate up, and that's what helps get my cardio up. And then I'm always running, doing sprints, probably at least 3 times a week. But during fight week, I'll probably run every day, or unless I'm getting really sore on my legs, I'll find an alternative, do something. You just got to know your body well and recover when you need to.
And how many hours do you spend a day just to train fully, completely throughout the whole day?
Of course, you wish you could you could just focus on training, but life, work.
Yeah.
When I had school, but luckily, I just finished. I graduated, but just work and school. That's it for me. I like what's really helpful. Not even when you're in fight. Not even if you're fighting or in fight camp or whatever. But to work out in the morning, you feel so much better during the day. You feel more energized during the day. It gets you're in a better mood, because there'll be like those rare occasions where I need to sleep in because I'm too tired. If I'm like been at work all night, or I've been studying for an exam, I skip training in the morning, and I feel I just regret it. I hate it because I need to train in the morning.
Yeah.
I feel lazy and lethargic. I just don't like it. So when I train in the morning, I feel so good. My brain feels good. My body, everything feels just amazing. Just living the healthy lifestyle and cutting weight and just doing it basically keeps me busy.
Good. Well, that's good. I know a lot of folks, they have a hard time cutting weight.
Yeah.
They have a hard time, even finishing or completing their training regimens.
Yeah.
Has that happened in your gym on the facility that you work at? Well, first and foremost, what is the facility or the training camp that you're in? The name, where is it located?
So the 2 gyms I train out of is Systems Training Center in Hawthorne, California.
Okay.
That's one of my gyms I train at. The second gym I train at is Fight Science MMA on Washington Boulevard in LA.
Okay.
Or Central LA, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but you could easily search them up on Google Maps or anything. But we have really great coaches. That have been in the sport for 20 plus years, or who have been fighters themselves, or they competed in jiu-jitsu or whatever aspect of mixed martial arts they've competed in. They know the sport. They know how to cut weight. So if I ever have any questions or any concerns or anything, I text my coaches, or I even have my teammates. My teammate Terrion Flashware is a UFC fighter. He fights in the UFC. He actually has a fight.
Well.
He's actually going to Russia. He's fighting September 15th in Russia, so you can watch that at the UFC. But so I go to him for a lot of advice. He actually corners me. He cornered me my last couple fights.
Okay.
But having that the people around me have definitely made my career successful thus far. So
Good.
yeah.
Good. Alrighty. Good. And would you recommend it to them, or how did you come across the gym?
So remember when I told you that
Or did you try out different gyms in the beginning?
no, the first gym I trained at, Verdun Combat Team in Venice Beach. Like I just mentioned, how I injured myself snowboarding. I had to take time off.
Had to take time
I actually was working at Islands at the time. I was buster at Islands, and I was going to school at the same time. We had a new hire. His name was Eric Gonzalez, who's my teammate now. I found out he's a fighter, and I told him, I was like, oh man, I used to fight. I had one amateur fight. I'm 1-0, and we got into talking about fighting, and I told him, I was like, I've been having that itch to come back. And he told me, he's like, yeah, my gym's right here in Hawthorne. Come by. He's actually a really good fighter. He's 8-2 right now. He's for sure going to go far. He's really good. But anyways, I told him, I was like, if you win your next fight, I will come back and start training again. And I really wanted him to win because, like I told you, I wanted to fight.
Wanted to fight.
I really prayed on it too. I asked God, if I should do this again. If he wins this fight, you know what? I'll keep that as a sign that, I'll get back into it. And he won his fight, and I was really happy. I went to the gym he trained at, and that's where I met all my teammates now, and it's just been like one of the best gyms in Southern California for sure.
Good.
And yeah.
And how's your guys' bond with one another? How's your training partners? Are
Oh
you guys
my-
very close to each other now after?
It's just like wrestling season. You're extremely close to each other because you all have the same goal.
And you guys spend so much time
You
together
spend,
too.
exactly.
That's probably
You spend a lot of time together. You have, like I just said, you have the same goal. It's an individual sport, but you all have the same goal to make it to the top. You're cutting weight together. Like for example, when one of our fighters has to make that last 10-pound cut the night before, some of our teammates do.
Wow.
We'll go with them into the sauna. We'll motivate them. Hey, you got this. Help them. Whatever they need, we're there for them. So we're always helping each other. So it creates a bond that's just undescribable. And I've had that bond in wrestling because we spent so much time in wrestling. When we had tournaments over the weekend, we'd wake up at 5 in the morning, go to tournament at 6 a.m. We don't get back to school till like 7 p.m. at night. So it's just a bond an unshakable bond, basically. It's amazing.
Okay, good. And I'm assuming that a lot of your friends are going to be, or a lot of your teammates and friends they're going to be at your event coming up on August 5
Yes,
here in
I
the
have-
city of Anaheim.
Yes, I have this fight, especially because I know I'm going to be the headliner and it's a title fight and it's my last amateur fight before I go professional. It's going to be a lot of my friends and teammates. It's going to be our show, August 5th in Anaheim. So it's going to be a great night. That's what I'm expecting.
Okay. Do you expect? I'm sure you have a game plan going in. Or
Yeah. So my opponent, he's 7-3. He's won 2 belts. He's a really tough guy. He's a wrestler, and I'm a wrestler.
Oh, you're a wrestler.
And I've seen some of his videos, and he likes to just go for the takedown. So I figured, you know what? I'm gonna stuff his takedowns. I want to keep it on the feet because even though I'm a wrestler, I love standing on the feet. It's just I've worked so hard on my stand-up that I love it. But in the fight, you have a game plan, but sometimes that goes out the window when you're swinging at each other, and sometimes instinctively I go for my wrestling. But my game plan is to try to keep it on the feet and take him down when I feel like I want to take him down, ground and pound, and hopefully get the finish. If not get the finish, just win with the unanimous.
Okay. Is there? I know usually what teams usually do is they usually bet on, fighters or the fighter itself comes out and says, you know what, round 2 I'm gonna knock this person out. In round 2 I'm gonna submit this individual. Do you have an actual?
Yep, I'm gonna finish him in the first round. I told my team I've been working so hard for this fight. I'm gonna finish this guy.
Okay.
Finish this guy.
Do you know how you will do it? Will it be through striking, like knockout,
Hopefully
or submission,
knockout.
stoppage?
Knockout. If he tries to take me down, I'll stuff his takedown, take his back, choke him out. But if not, then I'll just finish him on the feet.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
Also want to find out to see what is one advice that you want to give to a lot of the youngsters that are out there. And sincerely, you have to remember, these are a lot of our the youngsters that are watching are going to be a lot of Afghans.
Okay.
So what is like one message or something that you want to give, or a shout out that you want to give, or a piece of advice that you want to give a youngster when it comes to doing MMA?
As far as MMA, let me get into that in a sec. But now, looking back, I wish that for me, since when I fell in love with wrestling, I wish I did that as a kid, because imagine, how I told you it taught me so many great things. Imagine me knowing that as a kid, 5 years old, 6 years old. I wish I had that discipline growing up, because it would have made me way better human being. It would have helped so much, and all the mistakes that I've made. But you do learn from your mistakes at the same time. But if you want to do MMA, the best base for MMA is wrestling, and then I would say jiu-jitsu. So if you're up and coming and you're in high school or even before high school, do wrestling, because like I told you, my first fight, I had 5 months of training, which is nothing. I had used my wrestling and I wanted to dominate it. So and it teaches you so much mental toughness that you'll not get from any other sport. I promise you. I promise you. So definitely get into wrestling, jiu-jitsu if not wrestling. And if you don't like wrestling or jiu-jitsu, do something. You know, do what makes you happy. Just do a sport that you know is going to keep you grounded, help give you that conscious or subconsciously give you that thought of to stay away from drugs, to do good, just something to discipline you. That'd be advice I would like to give the young and up and comers.
Okay, very good. It's a good advice too. Thank you for that. And I hope anybody that is watching, especially the youngsters that are watching this show, remember it's anything's possible in life. Even when it comes time to not being supported by your parents or family members, eventually they'll come around. Same thing goes to parents and elders. And for those who think that MMA is a sport that is just brutal, gruesome, and it's a sport that nobody watches, nobody appreciates, or nobody learns anything from it. It's it's a life-changing sport. An individual learns a lot from the sport. As again we said, mixed martial art is a mix of different disciplines that are put together into one. So this is a great platform, and again, it's a great platform for Alijan, who's gonna showcase his skills in 2 weeks on August 6th, which I'm actually very excited about again, which I'm gonna say because it's an amazing sport that I watch. I grew up watching the sport back. This was years ago. I don't know if you remember back when
Royce Gracie.
No, not that. that's a little too far. Back when Chuck and Randy,
Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture,
when they first started their first rivalry, first fight, that was the first time I got introduced. When I started watching UFC, actually my number one guy that actually got me into it was Chuck Liddell.
Yeah, he was a great striker.
So again, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
In pursuing your career. Is this something long term that you're planning to pursue, or is this something that you're thinking of just doing, maybe for just a try to see, let's see where it takes me, or is this like even if I fall down, I'm just gonna continuously go?
Thank you. You just reminded me. Another great advice I want to give to the young and up and coming comers is that yes, I want to do this. It's my passion. I want to see how far I could get. But at the same time, there's nothing more important than your education as well.
Perfect.
I just graduated Cal State University Northridge, and I'm a full-time fighter, and I work part-time. So if I could do it, any of you could do it. If your dreams and passions aren't going to work out for everyone, but give it 100%. That's what I'm doing. And if it doesn't work out, I have my degree to fall back on. I have a contingency plan. I have something to fall back on, and that's my degree. I know I'm secure, but I'm gonna see how far I could get, and that's my goal, is to go professional and take it to the next step and represent Afghanistan. I'm really excited. This is what I love to do.
And not just that, but you give the good point too, that it's not just that, but at least you give it your best, right?
Exactly.
It's
give
like
it your best.
A lot of people, when they get older, they always say, "What if?"
What exactly?
Oh, I wish I could have done this, or could have, would have, should have. So it's one of those concepts. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna do it, even if I fail.
Exactly.
But at least I did it.
Exactly.
I tried. I test myself. I put myself to the limits, and you know what? It wasn't bad.
Exactly.
It wasn't bad.
And get your education, because that's very important.
Yes, education is always number one. And again, folks that do MMA, I know some of the readings that I've done, or the understanding that I have, or people that I have met from mixed martial art backgrounds, either they come to mixed martial arts, because they have nothing else in their lives.
Exactly.
They're coming out of a neighbor, they grow up in a community or in a family that's just very difficult for them to, move on in life. So what they do is they join a sport to get rid of their anger.
Exactly.
The other thing is that when other fighters, they do it because of the, just to try it out. Others do it because, they love the sport.
Exactly.
Some do it for money, some do it for fame, but there's a lot of fighters that are out there that I've come across, or that I've even learned about, they're well educated individuals.
Yeah.
Everybody has an actual,
meet
at least
people,
a
yeah.
bachelor's degree, even in organizations now, especially when it comes to the biggest organization is the UFC. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So UFC, a lot of their graduates, a lot of individuals that did join it, they have college degrees.
They have college degrees.
They
Yeah.
have college degrees. So and it's important. I'm assuming it's important for you to get educated too, because do you think even that education helps you
Yeah.
in kind of becoming more disciplined, or it helps you in a constructive way
Yeah.
when you're doing school, or no, not at all?
Yeah, well, look at the UFC bantamweight champion T.J. Dillashaw. For those of you who know the UFC, he graduated with a bachelor's degree, and he's the #1 fighter in the world at his weight class.
Yeah.
Your education definitely helps.
If not that, I'm pretty sure 100% that if you are educated, you would be able to get paid more.
Yeah.
You'll be able to smart smart
Exactly.
decisions, smart choices on who you want to fight,
Who you
and
want to surround
who
yourself
you want to
with.
surround with. I think those are things that would help you in the
Yeah.
long term,
Yeah, in the long
in
term,
terms of
course.
career. So coming back to you, in talking about the biggest organization is the UFC. So do you have any plans on going to a different organization, or as big as UFC?
So obviously that's always the end goal is the
That's the
UFC, but I'd say the competitive promotion would be Bellator, and if opportunity comes to go to Bellator, I'd love to fight for them because they're obviously televised. You get a lot of publicity, and you get your name out there, and eventually the UFC is the goal. You obviously have to fight with local shows to get your name out there, to get the calls to the big shows. Yeah, Bellator, UFC, whichever one wants to, whichever one I get.
So after, let's inshallah, hopefully I pray for you that you win your next fight and you go pro. Once you do go pro, so what's the next step? Is it Bellator for you?
So no, not.
Or do you have to wait till you get somebody, an agent comes and signs you, or do you have to send your resume? How does this work?
So it's you could go. It's not likely that you'll go straight to Bellator, but you have to fight local shows.
Okay.
Like my teammate Vince just fought at the Morongo this Friday. He fights for LFA. LFA is Legacy Fighting Alliance, I believe, and they are the #1 recruiting promotion from the UFC. So I would love to fight for them. You fight for shows like that. Put on good shows, exciting fights. Those fights are televised nationally on Access Fight TV, their promotion LFA, and yeah, you just get your name out there, and obviously it helps if you have a manager because your managers have connections, and it's good that you have your teammates because my teammates have managers, and you get their advice. How is this manager? Is he a good manager? Because they get you sponsorships, they get you deals, they get basically lightens a load for you. And now I actually got approached after my last fight about a manager because when I go pro, he's really interested in me. And my buddy's also my teammate Eric Gonzalez, who I told you got me into mixed martial arts. He's represented by him, and he told me he's a great guy. You could trust him, and obviously I trust my teammate, and I know that if I do go that route, then I know that I'm making better decisions or a smart decision to go get a manager.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have a current manager right now, or
no, you don't really get managers for amateurs. But once you go pro, that's when you get your managers and everything. And like I said, my last fight was very entertaining. There was the manager. He loved my performance, and he told me to come see him when he goes pro, when I go pro. And that's the same guy who represents my teammates. So yeah, you make a big name for yourself at an amateur level. There's already managers that were interested in you when you go pro. So yeah, you just gotta be exciting, put on good fights.
Okay. Have you got an offer from one of the managers? I'm assuming.
Yeah, he said to come talk to him when I go pro
When you
because
go pro?
he wants me. He definitely wants me. Yeah.
Good. And you talked about sponsorships. How is that? How does that work? Are you currently getting sponsorships? Or
So yeah, right now. So as an amateur, you look for your own sponsorships. You post on your social media. I'm very active on my Instagram account. I could give that to you if any Afghan people want to follow me. I'm very active on it. But yeah, you just post on your social media. if any sponsors want to come, any brands want me to represent them, put them on my shorts and my banner, walk out with them, give them shout outs. Right now I have a sponsorship with Ali Optimal Wellness. Is the Dr. Majid Ali who does acupuncture and cup therapy and does a lot of good stuff, and he's been keeping my body healthy for this fight, and I'm going to represent him in my next fight, so really excited on that.
Good. So these are just sponsorships in terms of you're not getting paid, or are you getting paid for this, or no? Do you usually get like services, or are they there to support you if you need certain things?
So it depends on the sponsor and what deal you guys make, I guess you could say. This one, he just takes care of my body when I'm sore. I need like any therapy that he could give me. He just helps me whenever he can. But that's why it's good to have a manager when you go pro, because they get sponsors for you when it comes to like any meal prepping, any clothing line. You get free clothes, or even if you get paid wearing someone else's brand. So managers really help a lot in that. But just make sure you get a right manager and make sure you talk to the right people. And yeah.
Okay, perfect. I mean, other than that, let's just wanted to get to see, your journey seems like it's going to be a long journey.
That's right.
For you. It's going to be a non-stop journey for you going forward. Do you have anything other than social media where fellow Afghans can follow you, or you can even shout out your and say what is your Instagram name, or if you want any followers to follow you, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, I have Facebook and Instagram, but I'm really active on my Instagram. It's my first and last name together, Ali Nazari, and then .125. So Ali Nazari .125, ALINAZARI .125. And feel free to message me if any Afghans or anyone have any questions or anything. But I'm always posting my fights, what I'm doing. I'm very active on my social media.
And I'm assuming the 125 is your weight class.
Yeah, 125 is my weight class.
Okay. Do you have any training regimen videos that you put up for folks to take a look at if they want to get to know more about you, about your lifestyle? Is it just your fighting videos, or is it actual? You have your day-to-day. Going out with friends.
It's day to day. It's mainly I post pictures of my MMA team photos, like whatever striking, what I'm doing, what I'm eating right. But it'll be some personal stuff. I'm here at the lake with my friends. It's a mixture, but it's mainly about my MMA for sure. And you could always message me on there if any Afghan parents has any. If any Afghan parents have Instagram, or anyone, just message me any questions or anything. So it's there to reach out to the community, to the Afghan community, or to anyone in general that needs questions or needs help or anything.
Good. And what about if any youngsters, that have any questions or guidance that they need from you? Can they, even touch bases with you and ask you, hey, this is what I'm planning to do, or this is how I do workouts? Would you be able to help them out and guiding them into certain different workouts or different regimens of working out?
Yeah, that's what I love about social media. You could just get in contact with. It keeps you connected to the outside world, and if anyone, any questions, you could just message me. It's not on private or anything. It's my athletic profile, I guess you could say, or my athlete profile. And just message me any questions you have with cutting weight, what sport you want to do, anything personally for me, whatever you need, I'm here for you.
Good. I know this is one thing that a lot of people genuinely, when somebody works or works too much, they burn out.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about burnouts. Has there been a point of time where, if it came to a workout, I know a lot of athletes, they do burn out, or they're in a training regimen, and the next thing I know, it's not burnout, but the body gives out, where they're puking, they passed out. Has there been a time or moment where you're like, oh wow, like I am going to pass out right now?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So my last fight, I got really heavy for my last fight. like I told you, I started cutting a month out for this one. I was at 153, but my last fight I was 155, cutting down to 126 3 weeks out before my fight, and I'm never doing that again. Learned from that mistake. I got a little too overzealous with food. I did go on a 2-day vacation as well, so that didn't help. I had to lose almost 25 pounds in 3 weeks. That's I did it. I made weight because I never missed weight in my life. But there was a point where I was putting on the sauna suit, putting on sweet sweat, dehydrating my body, not able to eat right, and I would get out of the sauna just lightheaded. It was just really bad. I feel numbness from my fingers all the way to my elbows, but that's on me. I did that. That was because of my lack of discipline because of food. You're gonna make mistakes in life. No one is perfect. Your parents aren't perfect. You're not perfect. It's gonna happen, but you learn from those mistakes, and I learned from my last fight. Coming into this fight, I feel amazing. I'm at 140 and I have 2 weeks out, and whereas I was at 155 3 weeks out, which was
140 right now. So you have a good 15 pounds to lose then.
15 pounds, but I feel good. I
good?
could go run 5 miles right now if I wanted to, and I'll lose 3-4 pounds and eat, and I'll be able to eat. Whereas my last fight, I couldn't eat. I would have maybe half a bottle of water and probably get a piece of chicken, and that's it. That's not really eating. I guess you would say.
So my question is that even healthy for the body if you're not eating?
If you're not doing it right, it's not healthy for the body, because you're basically starving your body, dehydrating your body, and just take it from me. I've been there. To do it smart, don't get too crazy with your weight, and just weight manage.
And how is it? Because I know this is once you become an amateur and then a pro, it becomes much different than training. So if there's those individuals, or Afghans, young Afghans, or even older Afghans that want to pursue MMA, sometimes there's, like you said earlier in the show, that some people, they don't join MMA to compete.
Yeah.
They do it for the training or the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Just to get in shape or to have a healthier lifestyle
Yeah,
and
of
be
course.
active, to be able to do things once you get older. Same way, if you are competing, how often are you going to the doctors? How often are you being seen by a chiropractor, a physical therapist?
When I'm not competing, or when I am competing?
Well, both. When you're competing and when you're not competing.
Not so much. Not so much when I'm not competing, because I'm not really. I'm still obviously training every day, getting healthy, but it's not. Whereas you're in a fight camp and your injuries do happen, and you can't really take a rest. Rest is very important in sport, but you have a set schedule that you have to keep, and when you're in fight camp, when I'm feeling like my body needs a break, I will tell my coach. My coach is he's really smart. He tells me, when your body needs a break, take 2-3 days off. You're gonna feel so much better when you come back, and it's helped so much. I would go see my chiropractor or my doctor.
Just doing some form of self-care for yourself.
Self-care, exactly. There's nothing better than self-care. For me personally, I love going to the beach. I go to the beach by myself because I love just being around the beach and just tanning and then going in the water, or even going to the movies with friends.
So let's talk about that. I know we talked about we have short time left. So let's talk about we talked about your professional career, how it's on the rise. You are, hopefully I'm not mistaken, you said 6-1, right?
4-1.
4-1, sorry. 4-1. And it's a title fight, and it's a big deal when you have a title fight. It's it's for a belt.
Yeah.
That means that you are really in that organization. You are the king of your weight class.
Of course.
So I wanted to now change our focus from your professional, career that you're on, and let's talk about, and from your academic career, let's talk about more of your personal life a little more, and what do you do, on a daily basis? How does your life look like? For instance, you said you go to the beach, you go to the movies. What else do you do? What are the things that you enjoy doing very much?
Obviously, I enjoy reading books that I'm interested in.
Okay.
I'll take a book with me, lay down in the sand, read a book. It feels amazing. on the beach. I love going hiking. I love just being outdoors. Even when there's times when I am doing rest days, but I do active recovery or active rest days, which is like I'll go for a walk, I'll go hiking. It's just I just love being outdoors. Looking to get another cat. Hopefully, we'll see. I have one. I rescued a cat or a kitten, Misha. She's my world. She literally was the size of my palm when I first got her. Now she's really huge now, but it's my so I want to get it. Hopefully get another cat. Parents weren't too happy about the first one. Let's put it.
I don't think any Afghan parents are ever happy when you have any animals in the house.
Yes, my mom. My dad, no, he didn't like it. My mom she says she's allergic to cats, but I don't know. But she despised me. Let's just say for getting a cat. But I told her I was getting a cat. And then now she is in love with my cat. She, like I said, parents just don't. They don't really understand things sometimes, and it just. She loves my cat. I tell her all the time. I say, I have to give her back. Yeah, the place where I adopted her needs to give her back. And she said, if they come over here, they're gonna have to deal with my fist, my sand. They're not taking my cat away. She loves my cat.
She likes the cat now.
She loves my cat.
Wow.
She loves my cat. She's
okay. Good.
Yeah. She because animals, they lighten the load in the family. They make people happy. Like. I don't know if this is true, but I think I've read that when you have a cat, I believe if it was a cat, that it definitely makes you happier in the household. So, and she's definitely like our pride and joy in the family, and we love her, and it just honestly it's brought our family together because we'll be in the living room playing with her all together. We'll throw her toy or it's definitely made us a lot happier as a family, and my mom is deeply in love with my cat now.
Good.
So I went on a tangent talking about my cat. See, that's how much we love her. You see, I can talk about her all day.
I can tell.
Yeah,
so let me ask you one question. It's going to go back to your professional career as a fighter. But then again, to come back with animals again, there's been actually, forms of, professionals that are actually using it as a form of therapy now. That's another thing. But to say that's another thing, a lot of, I know a lot of families don't have animals, so it's hard for them to connect and to understand that. But for those that do, they know the meaning behind, to have that connection or that bond with the animal.
Yeah, like I said, my mom didn't really like having at first, and now she just built that bond with my cat.
Yeah.
That she's just obsessed with her. Like, she talks about it every day. It just it honestly made her a happier person. I kid you not. I feel like it made her a lot happier.
She wasn't happy with you guys. She was happy with the cat.
Yeah. Sometimes, even when she's like, because we're obviously my brother lives in San Diego. My other brother, he's out of the house. My dad works. And when she's home alone, she's just happy because she has my cat.
It does get difficult for parents, when
especially at home, especially at home mothers, who will take care of the kids.
That is true.
But when the kids leave or they're home alone, they have the cat. My other
they
friend.
have nothing to do other than doing homework. A lot of home stuff. That's a lot, but it becomes difficult with human connection.
Yeah, my other friend, his name happens to be Ali as well. His mom was at home mom. Her husband wanted to get the wife a cat, and Ali, he follows me on social media, knows I got one, asked me questions, and I took him to the place where I got my cat. We got a cat for his mom, and she's in love with. He tells me his mom's so much happier. It definitely helps the household. So I recommend getting a cat.
If you guys, you don't have to get a cat.
You don't have to get a cat, but
because if your parents don't like cats, please do consider that, because then that can become problematic for you as well.
Or you could be my mom who hated cats, but now she loves it. But
love cats.
I mean, if you're really if your parents or someone's allergic to a cat, don't get a cat.
So lastly, I just wanted to wrap up before wrapping up all of this. I just wanted to ask you one thing regarding. Who's your inspirational fighter that you see, follow, or that you try to learn from? Well, look, somebody that you look up to. Who's one fighter
Oh man,
out there right now?
I wouldn't. Okay, at first, man, that's really tough. I would say when I was getting into the sport, when in the beginning it was Uriah Faber. He's retired now. He got his bachelor's degree. He started his team Alpha Male in Sacramento. He didn't have a penny to his name. He basically built that team. He opened up his own gym, built his team to one of the best ever in California. They're one of the top teams in the world, in my opinion.
He's a tough guy. I mean, I watched him when he was fighting, losing was Bellator.
Yeah, or WEC and UFC.
Yeah.
He basically built his team from nothing to what it is today. And I read his book. It's called The Laws of the Ring by Uriah Faber. It is a great book, and he was one of the fighters I looked up to. I actually met him when I was in high school in the summertime when I was doing wrestling camp. I went to wrestling camp in the summer. He was one of the counselors and special guest. He was inspiration. But right now, I would say probably my number one all-time inspiration is Brian Ortega, who recently was supposed to fight for the featherweight title, but his opponent had to pull out due to, I forgot why, but his opponent pulled out like literally a couple days before the fight. But I know him because I see him at UFC gym, which is like a gym I go to for lift weights and stuff. I see him from time to time. We're acquainted with each other. He sees me. He always says hi. He asks how I'm doing. He's a very humble human being, and it just amazes me of what a talent he is in the cage. And I saw him at one of the Bellator shows that I went to because my friend was fighting on the show, and there was so many people taking photos with him, getting his attention. And then when he looked at me, he actually walked up to me and he started talking to me. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? You got a fight coming up? It just amazes me like what a humble human being he is, and what a nice, genuine guy he is. And he has a nonprofit where he helps people. And he uses MMA as a platform to help people who can't afford to take MMA classes. He pay, or jiu-jitsu classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very good.
So that's what I would love to do. Use this MMA platform to do good and give back. Good. So that's probably what I would say good inspiration.
I mean, usually when you do good things happen to you.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then lastly, again, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is our times. It's done. And then for the viewers, I'm sure they enjoyed today's show. Inshallah, I'll be able to bring you back. But on one bet, you got to bring the belt.
I'll bring the belt.
Win the fight. Bring the belt. Let's put it up here on the show and show our Afghan community, that we have a young talent who's here to make us proud.
Yeah, but you need to bring me that flag so I can walk out with the Afghan flag.
I'll bring the flag. Don't worry.
You bring the flag. I'll bring the belt.
You'll see it.
It'll be a good night.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Nizari.
Dear brothers and sisters, I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Inshallah, we will be back next Sunday and we'll discuss more and more topics. If you guys do enjoy scenarios like this where I bring in a different crowd or a different mix of individuals compared to just my providing education, which I enjoy doing, I would love to continue to bring more people here. That is it for now. I hope you guys have a great day and you guys enjoy the rest of the day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ali Nizari making his way to the cage with a winning record, comes in with a 3-1 record, looks to keep that momentum going here in his amateur career. As in the first fight, another Saxons versus Fight Science MMA amateur showdown here. In the corner of Ali Nizari, Ian Harris from Fight Science MMA, along with UFC featherweight contender Terry on the Flash Ware, former CXF champion himself. They have a saying in this sport that iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel, and there's certainly a lot of iron in the corner of these two fighters tonight. No doubt that both fighters coming in extremely well prepared for battle. It's our final amateur fight of the night. Should be a good one. Great atmosphere in here in Burbank, California. Ali Nazari steps into the cage. And once again, time for Chris Gregory to get us set for battle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this evening's Celtic Gladiator in association with Sparstar MMA and CXF Promotions present to you 3 rounds of Camo MMA at 130 pounds. First, in the blue corner wearing black and gray, he weighed in at 129.8 pounds. He stands 5'6". From Oxnard, California, and fighting out of Sacasson's Muay Thai with a record of 1-1. Here is Michael Mazariego. And across the cage in the red, he's wearing black, weighing in at 129.6 pounds. He stands 5'5". Originally from Afghanistan, now fighting for Fight Science MMA and Systems Training Center. His record stands at 3-1. Here is Ali Nazari. Your referee for tonight's fight, Mike Beltran.
All right, John, been over the rules already. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Touch cuffs now if you want. At the sound of the bell, come on out and handle your business. Let's go.
Michael Mazariego out of the blue corner, taking on Ali Nazari out of the red. Action begins here in the first of three 3-minute rounds.
And for those of you watching at home, this is a mixed martial arts fight. This is not a display of facial hair. There's a great mustache, a great beard, and another great mustache inside the ring right now. I am extremely jealous. A little bit of a feeling out process here. Ooh, nothing feeling out about that left hand. Ali Nazari looking for a takedown now. That takedown waking up the sleeping lion. And
oh, a big shot there by Mazariego, though. Caught him on the butt, and now throwing with bad intentions are both men. We talked about in these amateur fights the feeling out process going out the window. These two certainly got the memo.
Nothing but significant strikes thus far here, Todd. Ali Nazari, Mike Mariziego just absolutely leaving me tongue-tied with these heavy hands. Oh, Nazari caught him with a left there.
Boy, both men throwing with everything they've got, knee up the middle. What a pace these two are setting. Deep takedown.
Beautiful double leg by Nazari, able to bring Mazariego to the mat. Someone's busted up badly, a lot of blood coming out of the nose of Mazariego here. Ali Nazari looking to take the back.
Nazari looking to take advantage here.
It's not under the neck, but it looks like it might be a crank. Mike Mazariego in all sorts of trouble here.
Can Nazari finish him here in the first round?
Oh, the blood has just come gushing out.
It's a crimson mask indeed.
It's Nazari who appears busted up, the back of his head.
Referee calls an end to it. Nazari finishes him. And what a sight that is. Painted in blood, but victorious. Ali Nazari gets the win. But man, these two were throwing with bad intentions, just getting after it early. Take nothing away from Michael Mazariego, who will go back to the Batcave and get ready for battle again.
What an absolutely entertaining first round battle. Both of these two young men came out busted up looking for the early finish.
Interesting to know when that laceration came. I mean, they were trading in tight.
Busted up the back of his head. It's a nasty cut on the side of the head. I think it was after Nizari was in on the takedown. He might have rubbed an elbow. It's on the side of the head, the left side of Nizari's head, but when he was starting to squeeze on that final submission, you could see the blood squirting out of the back of his head, making an absolute crimson mess of the Celtic Gladiator canvas. How about that for an appetizer, Todd?
Yeah, what a way to kick things off here. Those three amateur fights, very exciting, especially this, an absolute bloodbath. You called it, my friend, out of the head of Nazari. It was hard to know where the blood was coming from.
It looked like initially it was coming from the nose of Mazariega, and as Nizari started landing those ground and pound shots, that's when I noticed the volume of the blood intensify. But Mazariega, you know, hats off to him. He came out guns a-blazing. Like a young outlaw, he made that fight extremely entertaining.
Nazari gonna get
Ladies
the submission
and gentlemen, put your
victory.
hands together for these warriors. Let's hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, this fight comes to an end. 2 minutes, 3 seconds of round one. We have a submission tap out with a rear naked choke in the red corner, Ali Nazari. Nazari. Also, a big round of applause for his opponent, please, Michael Mazariego.
That thing was a sprint from the opening bell. And credit Nazari to keep his composure and go for the submission victory, even spilling so much blood.
Let's put it up here on the show and show our Afghan community, you know, that we have a young talent who's here to make us proud.
Yeah, but you need to bring me that flag so I can walk out with the Afghan flag.
I'll bring the flag. Have you guys providing it.